there, everyone from Rochester High School, all of you alumni out there. This is Larry Justice. I know that Gwen and some other folks had asked me some questions about the 80's cruise. They thought it might be a fun activity for some of us to go on. Should you want to do that? I just got back from this year's cruise on Sunday, so with all the coronavirus stuff going on there, my employer has put me on a quarantine, so I can't go back to work for 2 weeks. So I guess I get a little extra vacation time, which isn't bad. But the reason I'm making this video is just to kind of let everyone know about the 80's cruise, how it works, and some of the pricing now that the lineup for next year's cruise is out there, and we've got the pricing. And actually today they have opened the open booking for anybody who wants to book the cruise today. Now, I'm not trying to put any pressure on anybody. This is completely voluntary. If you want to do it, that's great. I would love to see you there. My wife and I are already booked for next year. And the reason I'm kind of want to get this out there quickly is because in my notification today that the booking has been open to the public, they also stated that 50% of the rooms were already booked for next year while we were on the cruise. My wife and I took advantage of those opportunities, and apparently so did half of the other cruisers out there. So I know last year when this kind of came around and Gwen put this Facebook page out there, by that time the cruise had actually sold out for 2020. So the reality was, if you'd wanted to go, you probably wouldn't have been able to go anyway, unless you paid a real big premium and a upper tier room became available. So I want to get this out as quick as I can. It's a 7-day cruise. It's going to go in 2021 from, let's see here, March 14th to March 21st. It's on Royal Caribbean. There's a company called Entertainment Cruise Productions that sponsors the trip. So they put it all together. They charter the whole ship for that whole week. So you're only on the cruise with 80's cruisers. There aren't going to be any kids running around. It's people who really want to enjoy the 80's culture. It's centered around theme nights every night, and bands from the 80's are there. There's always a featured concert every night. You're guaranteed a seat either at the first showing or the second showing, depending on how you book and what your preferences are. The second showing is the one that's the most popular, so it goes pretty quickly. Most experienced cruisers probably are choosing that one because you get the opportunity to eat first before you go to the evening show. It starts at 9. That second show, the first one, starts at like 6:30. So it makes kind of getting, if you wanted to get off the ship and do things that day, it really rushes you to get back on the ship, eat, get dressed up if you're going to dress up for that theme night. For example, some of the themes this year were Jocks versus Nerds night. There was an 80's icon night, so that's where you dress up like somebody from the 80's. There's always a prom, and this year's theme was punk rock. So we kind of went with the punk rock idea to dress up instead of a traditional prom. It's kind of neat because each year that you do the cruise, you advance. They refer to you as freshmen or sophomore, or juniors, seniors. They actually have a graduation ceremony for seniors on the 4th year. So next year, my wife and I will be graduating. And part of the perk of being a junior is you get to vote. The juniors vote on what is the theme for next year's prom. Some of the early ideas out there we haven't voted yet because they're narrowing down the scope. They're looking at a Miami Vice theme, a Dirty Dancing theme, Pretty in Pink. They're also looking at a Headbangers Ball, which seems to be getting generating a lot of excitement. There were about 6 or 8 of them altogether. Those are the ones that kind of come to mind for me. I think Headbangers Ball is probably going to be the front runner. We'll see. They'll send out emails to all the juniors. We get to vote on that later, and they'll announce that theme usually sometime in the fall. But back to the cruise. Again, theme nights every night, concerts all throughout the cruise. For example, you may go to a 2 o'clock show outdoor by the pool, and then there'll be a 7 o'clock show in one of the smaller venues, and then there's the main concert of the night, and then afterwards there's entertainers doing, shows until, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning. So it's really neat, lots of fun, lots of entertainers. There's, of course, the headliners, and each year they also have, support bands that are not 80s bands, but there's Jesse's Girl, which is an 80s tribute band. They do a show in New York. That's where they're out of. And it's a high energy. They've got like 3 singers and a full band, and they play everything that is pop 80s. And then you've got Trial by Fire. Those guys are referred to as the house band. They're really super awesome dudes. We've gotten the chance to meet them over the years. Really, really nice people. Very talented. And they're going to be more rock and roll. They're going to do some pop stuff. They'll do Journey. They'll do Prince. They'll do, that kind of stuff. But their heart is just like ours. In the late 80s, it was all about hair bands. So they do a lot of, they'll do Poison, and they'll do, Motley Crue, and they'll do Van Halen. They're really good at Van Halen. They just do a ton of stuff. They're very talented guys. They all sing. They all, are, bass players, guitar players, synthesizer drummers. Most of them kind of rotate the drumming, so that's kind of cool. So there's always shows. There's always fun. There are interviews throughout the day where you get to sit down in the audience. It's hosted by 3 of the MTV VJs, Nina Blackwood, Alan Hunter, and I can't remember the other guy, darn it, Mark Goodman. Yeah. So they're on the ship, and they interview the artists at different times throughout the cruise. So you get to really learn a lot about backgrounds of how the band started, or the artists got started, some of their trials along the way, some of their successes. It's really a lot of fun, and you really get to see their personality. It comes out, and it's surprisingly different than the persona that you see on stage. So it's really kind of cool. They let their hair down. They'll talk for the most part. Some of them are a little guarded, but some of them will really just put it all out there, and it's really fun to talk to them. And there's always a question and answer, so you get to interact with them. Some of them will stick around and sign things or chit chat with you, do selfies, whatever. Some aren't. It depends. You can't control. Some artists are very, very private. You don't see them a lot around the ship. Others, you'll see them everywhere you go. Every time you turn around. For example, on our first cruise, we had the opportunity. Tiffany was on that cruise, and holy cow, we saw her the day we boarded. In the dining room eating some lunch, and we were kind of afraid to go talk to her because she's a big celebrity. But every time we went to the buffet for breakfast every morning, and usually at lunch, she would either come in there or she'd already be there. It got to the point by the end of the cruise where she would smile at us and wave and say hello every time we came in. So, or as she came in, she'd walk by our table and say hello. So some of them are really great. So it's really kind of a cool thing. I'm going to post the pricing for the cruise. Again, it's not a cheap cruise, so I understand that. If you can go, great. If you can't, I get it. It's tough. If you're a first-time cruiser, which I'm sure you all are, with the 80's cruise, an interior stateroom is the cheapest they've got available. It's $1,850 per person. Now, one of the cool things is all the tips and that kind of stuff are included, the port fees. If you've cruised before, you know that sometimes those are hidden fees that they don't advertise when you book it. You book the cruise, you pay for it, but then they want you to tip the room steward and the maitre d' and all the people that you interact with throughout the cruise, your bartenders, whatever. And then you have to pay port taxes and fees wherever you stop, and that gets added to your bill at the end. So none of that's added. That's all included in the cruise. They've got a payment plan when you book. You can pay a deposit, and then they'll spread it out over beginning in April, or depending on when you book, for the rest of the year, so that it's paid up by the time you actually cruise, and that's really nice. I do advise that you purchase the travel insurance. They're going to offer that because with the coronavirus, this was a very, very unusual 80s cruise. 5 of the artists backed out, 2 of them before the cruise left, 3 of them after we had already departed because they were scheduled to join the cruise partway through in San Juan. So that was a real bummer. Brett Michaels and the B-52s, Loverboy, Dire Strait, and Midnight Star all backed out on us, and so that was a disappointment for me. The weather was bad the first couple of days, so that was kind of a disappointment. But those are things that no one can control. It was an unusual situation, but there were a lot of people who, when bands first started canceling, and with all the coronavirus scare, they just absolutely said, hey, I'm going to cancel my cruise, and they had the insurance, so they were, out a couple $100, but, they've had peace of mind. The lineup for next year is, it's really kind of heavy in synth pop kind of stuff, first wave music. So I'll read it off to you here. Kind of the headliners that they have listed are the Human League, 38 Special, Belinda Carlisle. Berlin has been on the cruise every year but the first year, and they are incredible. We often think of them as just the people that did that song from Top Gun, and that was their only #1 hit. But when you actually listen to their music, they are very good, and they put on an incredible show. It's actually 3 of the original members. John Crawford, the founding member, Terry Nunn, of course, who's kept it alive, and David Diamond. So they're all really great people. Their whole band is really nice. Morris Day and the Time's going to be there. We saw them on our first cruise. Now, that's kind of one of those examples of an artist who he puts on a show, and it's a great show. But when I tried to get a photograph with him, his security guy was like, nope, Morris isn't signing anything. He's not doing any photos. So, you get what you get. ABC is one of the featured bands, and of course the VJs will be there. They're also going to have John Cafferty and the Beaver Brown Band. I'm not really familiar with them, so I'll have to do some homework there. Modern English, Jack Russell from Great White's going to be there. You're going to have Flock of Seagulls. They're going to have The Alarm if you're into that punk music, that punk rock kind of stuff. The Sugar Hill Gang, John Parr, Johnny Hates Jazz is going to be on there. And they're adding a Depeche Mode tribute band called Strangelove. I've seen snippets of them before on YouTube, and they are really, really good if you like Depeche Mode. Surprisingly enough, if you didn't know this, 2017 Depeche Mode did a tour, and they were actually the highest grossing U.S. tour that year, which is kind of crazy because, I remember their music from the 80s, but I was really shocked to know that there were that many people out there that were going to pay money to go see Depeche Mode. I know I've been rambling on for a while, so I'm going to end it with this. Take a look at the stuff I put out there. Go to the 80scruise.com, look it over. If you're interested, please let me know. Send me an instant message or pop something up in the alumni Facebook page with questions, and I'll try to answer them as I see them. The one thing I will tell you is if you are going to book, they added a referral program this year. They've never done this before, so I'm kind of not sure exactly how many people will take advantage of it, but I did register as a group leader. So if you do want to go and you do book and they ask you who referred you, or better yet, just tell them right up front, Thomas Justice referred me. And if you do that, you will get a $100 room credit added to your room. It's per cabin, one per cabin. So the $100 room credit can come in handy. I'm not sure if they're going to offer a drink package this year. In prior years, you had to buy the drink package separately. One year we went, they gave us, because we booked at a certain time they were running a special where they would give us $150 room credit towards drinks, and that worked out for me because I don't drink a whole lot. Neither does my wife. This year on the 2020 cruise, they actually included an unlimited drink package, and I'm telling you, some folks took advantage of that, and it was non-stop drinking. They really didn't advertise that so much in this 2021 cruise, so I'm not sure they're going to offer that as an incentive when you book. But ask them about that, and because if they do, that's a pretty big deal. And of course, that room credit could be applied to your, if you get the photo package, or you get the internet package, that kind of thing. So it comes in handy. And who doesn't like an extra $100? So again, I hope you found this informative. If you're interested, please let me know. If you have questions, they did say in the email notification I got today from Entertainment Cruise Productions that because it is open to open booking today for the first day, they're expecting very high call volume, so there may be a hold. So they did advise people, if you're interested in booking, to book it through their website, which is the80scruise.com. Again, hit me up if you have questions. Hope some of you guys are at least able to come and hang out on the ship with me for next year, me and my wife. I'd sure like to see you guys since I wasn't able to make our class reunion last summer. Take care and have a great day.